Welcome everyone to the Trust the Plan podcast. I'm Nick.
And I'm Jim.
And Jim. Today we have a very special guest, a unique guest for the Trust the Plan podcast.
Mhm.
We will be welcoming in Syla Swords from the University of Michigan women's basketball team in just a moment. She is a freshman, the top recruit that the University of Michigan has ever had in basketball, and kind of had a coming out party last night in Las Vegas, of all places, against number one ranked South Carolina. So we definitely want to ask her about that.
Yeah, she wasted no time getting her career off to a good start.
Yeah, she was on the Canadian Olympic team in Paris 2024.
Mhm.
So I think that she's going to be a real star here at Michigan, and I wouldn't be surprised if she was, in the WNBA in just a couple of years.
Absolutely.
So, we're gonna be asking her about her playing career, and we'll loop in a little financial work as well. A couple questions for her about Roth IRAs and stuff. No trick questions though.
Yeah,
But
for sure.
uh, but it's nice to see young athletes having early success, and that Michigan women's basketball team is poised for a nice season, I think. So, without further ado, let's welcome in Silas Swords. So, Sila, welcome to the Trust the Plan podcast. It's great to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
We were watching you in your first official Michigan game last night versus South Carolina. What a great performance.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great way to start our everyone's college career really with all the freshmen we have. Why not come out and do it against the best of the best?
Yeah, and I know that you're no stranger to playing in tough environments and against great competition, but what was it like when you saw the first game of the year is going to be against the defending national champions and ranked number one?
Yeah, it was exciting. I remember coach called me and Olivia Olson early on, like before we'd even gotten on campus. I think I was still in my high school season, telling us that South Carolina was going to be on our schedule in the first game of our college career. And she seemed a little nervous, but I was like, Coach, like, why wouldn't we want to play against the number one team in the country? That's just a great opportunity to measure ourselves as freshmen and at the young team that we had and just see what we can do together.
And it seemed like in that first half that you guys were not intimidated. You were ready to roll and, ready for the challenge right out of the gate.
Of course, I mean there are South Carolina fans everywhere, so I think we surprised a lot of people in the arena. But why not just go out and try as hard as we can
I
to
was
not be
telling,
fearful.
sorry, I was telling Jim earlier today, I feel like you put everyone on notice, like especially in the Big Ten, like, watch out, here comes Sila.
I'll say the one thing I'll add to that is I was super impressed watching the game that, I mean, here you come in as a freshman, first game on a big stage, and like I saw zero intimidation out of you in the way you played and you continued to attack, had no hesitation in shooting. Like it was fun to watch. I've loved watching you just come in and be confident in your game and have a great effort.
Yeah, I had a tough summer playing against WNBA All-Stars, four-time Olympians, so I
Mhm.
knew that it was not an easy summer by any means. I was never the best player in the gym at any practice I attended throughout the whole summer. Made a lot of mistakes. So that just gave me a lot of confidence coming in, knowing that I've tested myself at this level at the very least going into that game.
So, Sila, you had a lot of accolades in New York in high school, and I think you were the Gatorade Player of the Year in New York. Is that right?
Yeah.
So, how did you tell us about your recruiting process and how you ultimately chose Michigan? When was it clear that Michigan was going to be home for you?
hmm I grew up thinking I was always going to go to university in my hometown up north in Canada, Laurentian University. It's where my dad coached on the men's team, and he told me if I wasn't getting a scholarship, that's where I was going to have to go because it would be free education there. Canada doesn't give out athletic scholarships for the most part. So I always thought that I was going to end up there playing in front of a couple hundred people every now and then on a lucky day. But really once I started playing AAU grade 9, summer of grade 10 was when I thought like maybe I can do something with this. Maybe I can go to the States, go Big Ten, go ACC. And Coach Rico was one of the earlier coaches that reached out to me. And Michigan, just the power of the Block M was so alluring to me, even up in Sudbury, Ontario, northern maybe town with 150,000 people. Go Blue was everywhere. The Maize and Blue was everywhere. So knowing that I had Michigan, like the University of Michigan on the phone with me was so exciting. And then my family ended up moving to New York, and that's where kind of got more recognition, got more accolades, and like more social media platform status, more just being out there, a bigger platform. And Coach Rico stayed consistent. It wasn't a matter of, oh, I was ranked this high now, she can offer me or she wants me now because I've done this. She always just trusted me as a person. So it was a combination of that and the fact that, well, University of Michigan is the greatest university in the world.
Mhm. People, I grew up in East Lansing, Michigan, and my entire family went to Michigan State, and I went to Michigan. And people ask me, well, why did you go to Michigan if everyone else in your family went to MSU? And my line
Yeah.
is, I went to Michigan because I got in. If you get in, that's where you go, for sure.
Go. Go.
So you mentioned the Block M. So now you get
Mhm.
to be a role model. Where in that Block M,
Mhm.
people like Jim's daughters and my daughter, right, watching you on TV, a starting freshman scoring all these points. What is it like to be a role model?
Yeah, it's really special. Coming from like your daughter's position of seeing big players growing up in Canada, Kia Nurse, Natalie Achanwa, just seeing how much I looked up to them and how much I wanted to be like them. So knowing that now I'm kind of transitioning to be on the other end of that, it's just really cool and it's an honor.
Excellent. I got to ask you one more thing about last night. In Las Vegas, it's a 7:30 East Coast time start. So the game
Mhm.
was probably over by 9:30 or so. What happens next? You're on a plane all night long, then you're heading to class today. Like, how do the logistics of all that work when you're a college kid?
Yeah, it was busy. It was a busy night. I think I slept 4 hours, especially with me now traveling into national team camp in Toronto. We got in at 4:30, 5 a.m. I had an 8 a.m. math class, but I was excused from that just because we got in so late. Got picked up, and now I'm here in training camp with the national team.
So you get excused from the test. So do you have to take it at a different time or a
Class,
different look?
just class, luckily. I don't know if I would
Okay,
have been
okay.
able to
Just
finish.
class. Got it. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
it's like another job for sure, right? You're a full-time student and a
Sure.
full-time athlete. And so I have a question for you, one more regarding NIL. So suppose, this new world of NIL, which is opening up to all kinds of college athletes. If if you were to be earning there, do you start thinking about investing? Because that's what we talk about, right, on this podcast, investing money. And so I know that your family has taught you a lot about investing. You mentioned to us earlier about your mother
Yeah.
during the COVID lockdowns, giving you financial lessons. So do you think about investing if you were earning right now?
Yeah, even now we do have some earnings from Champion Circle Collective. We have our stipend, which is scholarship funds and goes to rent, and then we have our separate NIL earnings. I invest and save all of my NIL earnings, and then I spend my stipend for rent, for food and stuff like that. So I like to keep it separate. Like I keep separate bank accounts and everything, so I'm not pulling from any of that investing money, any of that saving money.
I love it. Jim, she's got different buckets set up. That's right. That's the way I do it.
I know, I
Yeah,
like that.
So, being from Canada, you might not have heard of Roth IRA. Have you heard of this term before?
I've heard of it. I'm in raw school business right now, so there's a lot of terms being pointed around.
Yeah, so I have something to admit. When I was at Michigan, I applied to Ross
Mhm.
and I didn't make it. So I had to fall back into econ. But
Um,
you applied right from
yeah.
high school into Ross, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
And so Ross is like, number one or number two or whatever in business school. So congratulations. That's an achievement right there. But what are you studying in business school? Is it finance? Is it marketing? Is it accounting?
For freshman year, it's mostly just you take a little bit of everything to try and get acclimated into the Ross atmosphere because it's so intense. Yeah. I would like to go into a marketing pathway. I think finances are a little boring. Wouldn't want to do accounting or any of that. But right now, I'm just testing out a lot of stuff to see what I really like.
Well, I have to warn you about accounting 271. All right. Watch out for that one.
Boy, I think I'm taking that next semester.
Yeah, I think everyone has to take it. It's brutal. Okay, so marketing. Question on that. So if you
Mhm.
had a brand partnership, okay? So imagine if you are partnering with any food company or drink company or product, what would be a dream hookup for you for a brand partnership?
Definitely a shoe contract.
Oh yeah.
Jordan, definitely a shoe contract where I just be they give me my shoes, wouldn't have to worry about buying any of that, but that would be really cool.
All right. When you were in lockdowns back in COVID and your mom was giving you lessons every day about money, what was some of the lessons that stuck with you until today?
I remember assets and liabilities. She pushed so hard trying to get me and my younger sister to understand that concept and how you want your assets to outweigh your liabilities. But she spent a lot of time on that. I don't remember a lot of the other lessons, which she probably wouldn't be too happy to hear about now. But assets and liabilities.
That's important because that's how we form our net worth statement, right?
Mhm.
And Jim, what do we do every month?
Yeah, check your net worth, track your expenses. It's a great habit to get into.
That's right. We preach that, tracking your expenses, tracking your net worth. No, almost no
Mhm.
one does it, sadly. Almost no one does it, but everybody should. It's nice to
Mhm.
see your assets growing over time and your liabilities shrinking over time.
Mhm.
Now, let's talk about the Olympics for a minute because I believe that you're the youngest Olympic athlete for women's basketball for Canada ever.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's awesome. So
Yeah.
tell us about, the selection process and then
Yeah.
your experience in Paris.
Mhm. My first camp with the senior team was 2 years ahead of the Olympics. And it was just me kind of coming in, a young kid, a 16-year-old with WNBA players, four-time Olympians, just seeing what I can do, trying to learn as much as I could. I really had no expectations for myself. I was just so grateful to be in the gym, a little starstruck too, because I was playing with people who I idolized growing up and people that I looked up to. But then I started making rosters. I kept getting invited back to different tryouts and training camps. And it wasn't until probably once we got to the Olympic qualifier when I was like, I can make this team and I can make an impact and help Canada win games, help Canada do well. So our final tryout was about a month and a half long process. And when I made the roster, I called my dad, my mom, my sister first, because like it's my support system. My dad did in 2000. So that was something that I always wanted to do growing up. I wanted to go to the Olympics. I wanted to be like dad. Even before I chose basketball, it's something I knew I wanted to do. And that was like my biggest goal I set for myself in any sport before choosing basketball. So knowing that I was able to do that, it was just a really cool feeling.
I mean, I just think it's remarkable that you're like 17 or 18 and you're playing in Paris in the Olympics, Congratulations.
You.
So you were living in New York by then,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
so I find that interesting that you're kind of living in the US but going back and playing on the Canadian team. And
Mhm.
I have a question for you about that. Is like in the US, the rules used to be that you had to be an amateur. Like I think before 1992, Jim, right? Like remember the Dream
Mhm.
Team with
Yeah, for
Jordan and
sure.
those guys? Like that was the first year when a professional athlete could be in the Olympics. How does it
Mhm.
work in Canada?
Um, Professional, amateur, doesn't matter. It's just if you're good enough to make the roster, you can play, which I like it like that. You get the best of the best.
Yeah, that's amazing. So what kind of goals do you have for the team and for your individual performance or long-term goals for your basketball career?
National team, I want to get Canada a medal. Gold would be really nice, but we've been so close consistently making the Olympics. Canada needs to get on the podium. We have such great players, such great youth coming up, great vets to learn from. So I want to get Canada a medal, bring something home for them. And then Michigan women's basketball is such an established program in terms that they've also, similar to Canada, been really close, but haven't really been able to make it past Elite Eight, get into Final Four, get into championship. I think with this freshman class, specifically with our coaching staff that we have the capacity to do that. So that's really exciting to think about.
Can we ask about WNBA aspirations?
Yeah. Yeah. I would love to play in the W. Like I would love to play in the best league in the world. It's a great platform right now, growing, especially with Caitlyn Clark, Asia Wilson, all the players that are growing the game. Just seeing it on TV, it's so cool. Seeing the viewership go up with the Liberty, the Aces. It's something I definitely want to be a part of in the future.
Yeah, I think it's a growing sport, if you will, for sure. A lot more attention. Why do you think it is that Caitlin Clark has been such a, you know, a magnet to the game? Like, what is it about her? Obviously, she's an excellent player, but there's a lot of great players, right? So what is it about her?
She's exciting to watch. Whenever she gets the ball, everyone's waiting to see what's going to happen. We haven't seen a player, well, I haven't seen a player that has so much confidence pulling up from basically the half court line on any given day, any given possession. So I think it's just that what's going to happen next, what's she going to do next that draws people in and keeps them staying to watch women's basketball.
I think she's a great passer too. I think she's like Magic Johnson as far as
Mhm.
passing goes. All right, Jim, you had one you were going to ask.
Yeah, Syla, I think, I have young athletes. I think there's a lot of young athletes out there that look at where you are today, look at all that you've accomplished already, and they think, oh, that's what I want. And it's easy to look at where you are without looking at what it took to get you there. So could you give us an idea of what you kind of went through and what, your days look like and your path look like to get to where you are today?
I grew up in a gym. My dad was a basketball coach, as I mentioned. So my mom was competing her NBA when we were really young. So we had to go to the gym with dad during his practices. My sister and I were always in the gym. We weren't always shooting on a net, but we were always around basketball. We were learning, watching, trying to copy what the 20, 24-year-old men were doing on his team on the court as 6-year-old little girls in our dresses on the side hoop. But we were just always around the game. Um, Having two parents who are coaches, it was interesting growing up because a lot that can impact you. It can be hard. You can feel pressure having a dad who went to the Olympics wanting to do the same thing. But both my mom and my dad never pressured me to get into the game. And I think that's something that helped a lot cultivating my love for the game. So I was never pressured by anyone to go work. I would go mornings, I would go afternoons to shoot extra practices, but no one told me to do it. And I think that's something really important, whether it's basketball, whether it's school, whether it's anything else, it has to be self-motivated and self-driven if you really want to have true success to it, because you can only be told to do things to a certain extent. You're gonna want to retaliate at some point. But early mornings, late nights, after late practices, just going in and getting extra done because I know there's someone else working just as hard as I am.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing.
Mhm.
Okay, a couple fun ones here. So, which dorm do you live in, Sila? West Quad, South Quad?
I'm off campus with a couple upperclassmen this year. All the freshmen are off campus.
Oh, okay. Okay. That's different from when I was in college. I was gonna say, I figured you and Olivia would be like in West Quad together or something.
No, I'm at the villas on Main Street, and the rest of the freshmen are at Vic Village, right in the
Okay,
middle of
cool.
campus.
So, have you ever ridden the bus up to North Campus? Because I got stuck living in Bursley my freshman year, riding the bus, even though I didn't have any classes on North Campus at all, on the bus back and forth every day. So, I hope you don't have to ride the bus.
When I first got here, the gym was closed because they were redoing everything. So we had to go to the gym up in North Campus. And then on my first day of classes, I got on the wrong bus. And instead of heading to Chrysler for practice, I was going up north. So I've had a couple experiences.
Yeah, yeah, it's a bummer. So, but there's
Mm.
good things that come out of it because my wife lived in Bursley. So that's how we met at Bursley. And so now we have a dog and his name is Bursley. So, you know,
Oh, really? Oh, that's so cute.
yeah, all the time on the bus is worth something. Okay. So, Jim, do you have any closing questions for Syla?
I mean, I know you're pretty early in your experience so far, but how do you feel like it's matching up with your expectations?
I wouldn't say I have a lot of expectations going into anything. It's just me doing what I do and having confidence in what I do. And if I do that, I say it's a good day. I say it was a good game. Not a measure of how many points I score, not a measure of how many assists I get. It's how hard I'm working. So I'm happy with what's going on so far.
Great.
Well, keep up the good work. It sounds like you guys are in for one heck of a season, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a rematch with South Carolina later in the year.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
Good luck.